Accurate and defective knowledge. Although Buddhist epistemology is an extensive subject, here we will look at only two more aspects pertaining to correct and incorrect knowledge. Two levels of truth. Students of Buddhism may experience confusion about the subject of truth. On the one hand, they hear such teachings as, "Do not associate with fools, associate with the wise. A foolish person has these attributes, a sage has these attributes. Be content with what one has, do not covet the possessions of others. One is one's own refuge, and one should offer mutual support." Other teachings, on the other hand, state, "Discern according to the truth that the body is simply the body. It is not a being, a person, a self, me, you, him, her. It does not belong to us. It is not lasting and substantial. All things are non-self, anatta." These people then see these teachings as contradictory, or else they get confused, and due to a limited understanding, practice in an unbalanced, incorrect way. At times when they should speak or act according to a basic conventional understanding of the world, they attach to teachings on ultimate truth, causing all sorts of confusion and even harm for themselves and others. As an attempt to prevent such confusion or erroneous behavior, the Buddhadhamma divides the truth satcha into two levels. One, conventional truth, samadhi satcha. Another name for this is vohara satcha, rhetorical truth, vernacular truth. This refers to consensual truth, to those things that have been mutually agreed upon, and to common designations. These designations are used as tools for communication for the sake of convenience and benefit in everyday life. Examples include the designations person, animal, good person, bad person, table, chair and book, and the common words water and salt. 2. Absolute truth, paramatta satcha. To the extent that this truth can be articulated in words, the descriptions are intended for fully comprehending things as they really are. The aim here is to give rise to the supreme benefit of penetrating the ultimate truth, Buddhadhamma, an understanding which dispels all attachments, delusions and defilements, fosters a proper relationship to things, brings about a freedom from suffering, and leads to true purity, peace and happiness. Examples of absolute truths include mentality, namadhamma, corporeality, rupadhamma, feeling, vedana, perception, sanya, volitional formations, sankhara, consciousness, vijnana, the mind, citta, mental concomitants, cetasika, material form, rupa, nibbana, contact, passa, intention, cetana, one-pointed attention, ekagata, the life faculty, jivitindriya, etc. A comparison to modern science is the analysis of water or salt. For scientists, the terms water and salt may be deemed inadequate, ambiguous or misleading. For more accuracy, they thus define water as hydrooxygen, H2O, and common salt as sodium chloride, NaCl. Note that this comparison does not correspond completely to the description here of absolute truth, but it shows how even in other branches of knowledge, certain aspects of truth are distinguished from people's ordinary understanding and definitions. In any case, the Buddhadhamma, which assigns specific technical terms to these concepts of conventional and ultimate truth, cite passages from the suttas to substantiate this claim. This shows that these concepts existed from the beginning. Most likely at the time of the Buddha, there was a basic understanding of these concepts, and it was thus unnecessary to establish unique descriptive terms for them. The key sutta passage cited in this context is a teaching by Bhikkhuni Vajira. Mara, how can you believe in a being and hold such a view? This is purely a mass of formations. Here no being can be found. Just as with the combination of various parts, the term wagon in shoes, so too with the 5 aggregates, the conventional term being in shoes. In relation to everyday spiritual practice, there are many passages by the Buddha emphasizing an understanding of conventional and absolute truth. The Buddha encouraged people to recognize language merely as means of communication without attaching to conventions or becoming enslaved by language. Here are 2 examples. An arahant with taints destroyed may say, I speak this way and they speak to me this way. Skillful knowing the world's parlance, he uses such terms as mere expressions. These are worldly terms, expressions, manners of speech, and designations. The Tathagata uses these but does not attach to them. Note that the Buddhadhamma describes the suttas, the Suttanta Pitaka, as a vernacular teaching, Vihara Desana, because the majority of its subject matter is comprised of conventional language. In contrast, the Buddhadhamma describes itself as an absolute teaching, Paramatta Desana, because the majority of its content is a direct presentation of absolute truths. 3 aberrations of knowledge. The Pali term vipallasa refers to aberrant or errant knowledge, knowledge that deviates from the truth. It is fundamentally flawed, leading to misunderstanding, delusion, self-deception, and an incorrect attitude and conduct, with one's life and all things. It is an impediment shielding one from discerning reality, saccabhava. There are 3 kinds of aberrant knowledge. 1. Sanya vipallasa, aberrant perception, wrong or defective perception. 2. Citta vipallasa, aberrant mind, wrong or defective thought. 3. Ditthi vipallasa, aberrant view, wrong or defective view. Examples of aberrant perception include someone frightened by a piece of rope, perceiving it as a snake, animals encountering a scarecrow, and seeing it as a real person guarding a field. Someone completely disorientated, seeing north as south, south as north, and someone fleeing from the light of a flashing sign, perceiving it as a fire. Examples of aberrant mind include an insane person thinking grass is food, a deranged person paranoid of others, thinking they plan to do him harm, someone seeing a moving shadow in the dark and imagining it to be a ghost, and the story of Chicken Little, who, after an acorn hit her on the head, thought that the sky is falling. Aberrant view generally arises as a consequence of aberrant perception and aberrant mind. When one perceives something incorrectly, one views it incorrectly. Similarly, when one thinks in deviant and errant ways, one's views and beliefs are accordingly mistaken. When one wrongly perceives a rope as a snake, one may come to the conclusion that this particular location is teeming with snakes. When one perceives the land as extending out evenly in a straight line, one believes that the earth is flat. When one thinks that an external conscious force is required to manage and control things, one develops the belief that gods are responsible for thunder, lightning, earthquakes, rain, and floods. These examples are relatively simple, and one can say that they pertain to unusual situations. In the Pali Canon and in other Dhamma teachings, however, these aberrations are examined on a refined and fundamental level. They focus not merely on the false understanding by select individuals or groups, but more importantly on deviant forms of understanding that almost everyone is subject to. Often unconsciously, people tend to be dominated by these fundamental or subtle deviations. Here the three aberrations mentioned above are combined as a single group. Amongst there are these four aberrations of perception, aberrations of mind, and aberrations of view. What for? 1. The aberration of perception, mind, and view that takes the impermanent to be permanent. 2. The aberration of perception, mind, and view that takes what is suffering to be pleasurable. 3. The aberration of perception, mind, and view that takes what is not non-self to be self. 4. The aberration of perception, mind, and view that takes what is unattractive to be attractive. These aberrations of perception, mind, and view impede spiritual development, and their elimination is thus an important target of wisdom practice. Those methods of developing knowledge described earlier all help to dispel these aberrations. Most effective for this task is an investigation into causes and conditions, and a detailed and mindful analysis of the building blocks of conditioned reality.